This New World primate manages to produce the loudest sounds in the forest. The howler monkey group is made up of 9 species. While the mantled howler is not the noisiest of them, its vocal demonstrations can still be heard.
Hello, I'm Aaron Velasquez with your recap of the top headlines this week. Changes are proposed for oversight of Knox County's Juvenile Center. The Richard L. Bean Juvenile Service Center could transition to the Knox County Sheriff's Office. Mayor Glenn Jacobs is seeking the move because of what he calls critical issues at the facility concerning medical care. If county commissioners agree, an emergency ordinance will dissolve the current board by July 1st. Under the plan, Knox County Sheriff Tom Spangler would take full operational control next January 1st for an 18-month period. A key road for people who come in and out of McGee-Tyson Airport is back open after it closed due to a sinkhole Thursday night. This was on Airport Loop Road. Crews filled the hole with cement, which will take time to dry. There are no detours at this time. A spokesperson for the construction company says the dropout happened when a drilled pier was being installed for the new parking garage. President Donald Trump fired another member of the Tennessee Valley Authority Board. Beth Geer was removed from the board this week. She was nominated by former President Joe Biden. Her term was set to expire next May. The 9-member board is down to 3 after 3 firings in the past 3 months. Of course, we can get to video of that now. Back in March, the first board member was fired at the direction of President Trump. Then in April, he removed a second. Now, with only 3 members at the board, lacks a quorum and can't offer any direction or approve new programs for TVA. The Senate must confirm any new members, but the president has yet to offer any new nominations. We have new details about a fire that occurred Wednesday at the Union County Jail. Leaders say an inmate started the fire, and it's not the first time. 10 News reporter Ellis Rold brings us what we know so far about the fire and what she learned from investigators.
A Wednesday fire at the Union County Jail ignited from inside.
Dispatch, can we get the fire department down here and assistance at the jail, please? Because apparently they're back there setting fires in A cell.
Smoke coming from cell block A, started by an inmate.
Yeah, because she said they're raising hell, so I guess just send whoever's not on traffic.
It's a problem Maynardville Fire Chief Charles Wilson says isn't new.
This year alone, we've had multiple calls for this similar situation in the cell block A.
Records show an intentional ignition from playing with a heat source.
And we found that they're using small pieces of wire. They're shorting out the electrical outlet to generate heat to light makeshift cigarettes. And usually a lot of times the only paper they have available is toilet paper. So going this way here, we're assuming that that's what they did in this case, is they used that as a way to start their fire for this.
But records say smoke detectors weren't working.
It does have a fire alarm system, but the fire alarm system wasn't activated. The smoke detectors were not picking up, and it was all systems normal, even though the amount of smoke that we had inside the facility.
Wilson says inmates were evacuated and several checked by EMS for smoke inhalation. No injuries were reported and there's no damage to the jail. Still, Wilson says the problem is becoming too familiar.
Just trying to figure out what we need to do, what the jail needs to do, or what the county needs to do to try to facilitate, getting a lot of these issues taken care of.
Right now, the Union County Jail has had other problems in the past. We have reported extensively on the jail's repeated failures of state inspections, multiple inmate deaths inside the jail, and inmates escaping. Sheriff Billy Breeding oversees the facility. We reached out to him Friday for comment and did not hear back by deadline. President Donald Trump says he wants to phase out FEMA after this hurricane season. The federal agency has served victims of a historic storm for months across East Tennessee. 10 News reporter Lauren Lovett spoke with two mayors of counties relying on federal funding to help them recover from Helene.
Flooding after Hurricane Helene caused millions of dollars in damage in several East Tennessee communities. Now, almost 9 months later, the recovery process continues, helped by FEMA, though that assistance comes in phases.
If we get ahead of the approval process, then we put our FEMA funding into jeopardy. So what we're forced with is the decision between months of delays because of that approval process or years of debt.
Cott County Mayor Rob Mathis says those barriers to recovery could be lowered if disaster relief was up to the states. He says the best government is always the one closest to the people.
When we work with the state, we're not working with an agency, we're working with people, and people who want to help our people.
Greene County Mayor Kevin Morrison says the funding from the state has gone above what his county expected.
That was just a brilliant move to reassure us, for instance, that the state is listening and they're trying to help and get us this rolling capital that we need.
But he says the state might not have the funding to assist with every disaster without federal help, leaving them to make up the difference elsewhere.
You're looking at everybody having to chip in terms of raising taxes. And nobody wants to do that. To coin a phrase, that's going to be a bridge too far.
While much is still uncertain about how this process would work, Mayor Morrison says he's worried it could mean making difficult decisions on what can be recovered and what cannot. A Knoxville organization is providing housing, community, and stability for young members of the LGBTQ+ community. According to the Knox County Office of Housing Stability report, in 2023, 2 in 5 young people without a home are also members of the LGBTQ+ community. Reporter Olivia Daig spent an afternoon at this South Knoxville home where Bryant's Bridge has provided a safe place for more than a dozen young people since opening about 3 years ago.
This South Knoxville home is a safe haven.
I'm very appreciative of how fast they moved to get me here because it was a very dark time in my life. Amelia is one of 5 people who live at Bryant's Bridge right now.
It kept me off the street, actually.
This house opened 3.5 years ago on a Housing First model.
We believe that if you don't have housing, recovery from everything is really impossible.
Residents can stay as long as 1 to 5 years. Annabelle has lived here for 3. She says this community saved her.
Homelessness is hard on anybody, but for somebody who's not only of color but also trans, it's very not easy.
The organization operates on donations. Their goal is around $68,000 a year.
We're not trying to change the entire world. We are trying to prevent long-term chronic homelessness, 5 people at a time.
Bryant's Bridge has helped 17 young people get off the streets.
That first night was the first time that I felt safe, where I could sleep.
And feel loved.
I guess after that, it was like I didn't have to hide.
For many in the LGBTQ community, family is chosen, not given.
If I didn't have Bryant's Bridge, I wouldn't have as close of a community or a hope for the future.
More than a roof, more than a bed, Bryant's Bridge shows people love.
Of the 17 people who have stayed in Bryant's Bridge, 9 have found permanent housing. The next resident coming is straight from foster care, and the founder says they hope to catch that young person before they fall through the cracks. Well, thank you for watching this week's Top Headlines. You can catch us on 10 News every morning and evening. For now, send things over to our 10 Weather Impact team for a full look at your forecast.